All right, what's up, guys? So, two college students built an app that almost nobody paid for. They were pulling in around 20 downloads a day. The app had hype. The hype was strong. Influencer marketing was kind of working. But after the free trial ended, nobody stuck around and stayed. And this is exactly how they fixed that, because they were stuck at $1,000 to $2,000 a month and nothing they tried fixed it. So, instead of throwing more money at ads, they did something most founders are terrified to do. They shut everything down, chilled for 10 weeks, killed all marketing, and spent 4 months rebuilding the whole app and brand. And after 10 weeks, they relaunched and crossed $30,000 a month in monthly recurring revenue. And this breakdown is exactly why distribution doesn't matter if the product sucks. I've worked with many founders where they are marketers, but I look at their app and I'm like, brother, I don't even think you would use this. So this is how to tell when your app is secretly doomed and the exact changes they made that turned a falling app into a real business in 2025. You guys should take a lot of these lessons and take that into 2026. So let's get into the backstory right now. So this is what most people get wrong about this story. These guys didn't fail because they couldn't get users. They failed because they got users too easily. Guys, from day one, they had influencers on speed dial and the relationships were already tapped in and dialed in. They were spending a few $1,000s on creators and reliably getting downloads, which was roughly 20 downloads per day. Like I mentioned, strong conversions from download to free trial and tons of excitement around the idea. And on paper, everything looked healthy, but revenue refused to move. They hovered at around 1 to 2K per month after month. And personally, I remember when my first app was hovering around that 1 to 2K per month, and it wasn't because people just weren't paying, it was because people were canceling out a lot. Now eventually I fixed the churn issue, I fixed the leaky bucket, and then I ascended to 10K per month. But that's an uncomfortable truth that I realized, and that's something that they realized, which was the problem wasn't marketing, it was the product wasn't delivering. So the app was called Prop GPT. It's a sports betting analytics platform, and the original idea was pretty simple. Users input bets, the app analyzes odds using machine learning, and users decide whether a bet is good or bad. And on the surface, it sounded powerful, but in practice, it asked users to do way too much, and users were obviously telling them that silently with their behavior of just like canceling out. One thing that I always recommend the people that I work with is to always add a cancellation box in your SaaS or app and say, hey, before you cancel, tell us the reason. You guys need to do that early rather than later so you can get your signal back and readjust your app. That'll fix a lot of churn issues, and that'll fix a lot of bugs that you just didn't realize in the app. So this is the data point that changed everything, guys. They had a high conversion to free trial, but a terrible conversion from trial to paid. And that tells you something critical. People thought the idea was good, but they just didn't think the idea was worth paying for. This is the moment founders panic and buy more ads or try to figure out a different angle with distribution. But these guys did the opposite. They realized that there was no growth hack. It was just rebuilding. And again, I work with a lot of marketers who try to be app founders or SaaS founders. They're great at getting customers, but not great at keeping them. So this is a hard truth that if you're a marketer yourself, you have to follow and listen and perhaps rebuild the product and not blame your customers leaving on your distribution funnel. So to pretty much sum it up, the users on the app did not want to compare odds. They didn't want to analyze bets, and they didn't want to think like freaking spreadsheet. They just wanted to know what's the right pick. You guys have to dumb down a lot of the copy in your app to a 5th grade reading level, make things so dead simple. And that's exactly what these guys did. They re-engineered and redesigned the entire product around what's the right pick. That simple question. So they spent 4 months on engineering, design, simplification, and zero marketing. And when they relaunched, they were still small at 1,700 MRR, about 15 downloads per day, but everything underneath that had changed. So these are the relaunch results. When the NBA playoffs hit, they turned marketing back on, and this time the numbers exploded. The trial to paid conversion jumped over to 50%. They hit 30K MRR in under 10 weeks, and at peak, they were at 40K MRR. One day, they even hit 2,000 downloads. So same distribution playbook they ran before they re-edited the product, but a completely different outcome. And that's the difference a product can actually make, guys. And sometimes I'll personally hop on these calls with the founders, and this is exactly why I mentor founders, guys, and in some cases literally build the app for them with my team when they'd rather focus on the growth instead of engineering mistakes. So the core lesson in this story is the product mattered more than distribution, and you should probably think of the product more if you're a marketer, and if you're technical, you should probably think of the marketing more. So this is how to tell if your product is aggressively failing. You guys want to, number one, be humble. If your product is not simple, people will not pay, period. And number two, which is something that's overlooked, I'm surprised when I mentor founders that they're not even tracking their distribution ads, they're not tracking data inside their app, and they're not obsessing over behavioral data. So a couple of tools that you guys could use and that I recommend is PostHog, RevenueCat, Hotjar, Superwall, and all that stuff will literally make you less anxious with your app. You'll realize where users are falling off, what you can improve. And yeah, so I definitely recommend just tracking everything. So this is the exact 2026 playbook that you guys need to use, which is define one user and one pain point. And if you can't explain who it's for in one sentence, then you're already lost. Step number 2 is let numbers and analytics guide you. You guys need to pick 2 or 3 metrics that actually matter and ignore the rest. So for example, for these guys, it could be free trial to paid, or it could be onboarding percentage, or it could be the conversion on the onboarding paywall. Step number 3, you guys need to track everything. Every click tells you what users value, and you guys need to double down on what they already use, not what you're proud of building. And step number 4 is scale with influencer marketing or paid ads. But in this case, you could scale with influencer marketing because influencers can outperform ads because trust is already baked in, conversions are faster, and one viral video can change your entire business overnight because these guys gained 30K in revenue overnight. So they jumped from 8K MRR to 38K MRR. So that's what organic can do for you guys. And then for those who are curious, the app was built on React Native, TypeScript, Python for the machine learning, Neon for database, RevenueCat plus Superwall for monetization, data APIs for real-time sports data, and the infra cost were $100 per month for the data, $20 a month for the LLM cost, $10 for database, $10K a month for marketing, 50% margins overall. And this is very doable in 2025 and also going into 2026, guys. So don't be discouraged. If you're not technical, you can just ignore everything what I just said. So the best advice for the builders out there is don't build alone. Have a co-founder you trust. And you guys need to be brutally honest about demand and treat your product like a science experiment where you're tracking everything and it's not just a passion project. So to sum it all up, guys, they had traffic, they had hype, they had downloads, and none of it mattered until the product deserved to win. So if you guys have any questions, leave a comment, or if you're interested in working with me, check the link in the description. That's it for today's video. Have a good one, guys.